Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar. Today we are going to present you to the MBA program at IE Business School. My name is Maria and I will be the moderator on behalf of the Unimi team. I'm here with our speaker today, Alberto Alvarez, Senior Manager at IE Business School. And we also have a special guest, a recent MBA graduate who is going to share his experience with the program. His name is Antonio Pozo, and he is a senior consultant on Twin Pikes. Before giving the word to them, I would like to invite everyone who is listening to ask questions anytime during the webinar using the QA box. We will take time to answer every question at the end of the session. So please don't hesitate, all the questions are welcome. And I think that everything is said, and I'm giving the word to you, Alberto.
Perfect, thank you. I will go ahead and start sharing my screen. Everything looks good, right? Perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect,
Please.
thank you. Great. Well, as she mentioned, my name is Alberto Alvarez. I am part of the global recruitment team here at IE, and I am the senior manager for the business and manager pathway. And today, what we'll be doing is we'll be, going in depth in terms of the International MBA that we offer at IE, and we'll end with a Q&A with Antonio as well, so he can give you his personal experience on how much he enjoyed, I hope, the program. And just to kind of give you some international recognition from IE and also from the International MBA program. And, QS has ranked us the first in terms of worldwide online MBA programs. Financial Times has also ranked us most recently #1. We're also, the most carbon neutral and sustainable campus kind of globally as well. So just to name a few of our international recognitions for the institution and also for the program. So let's start kind of just with the current you and also the journey. So first, I want to kind of really highlight the next best you. What the next best you is, it engulfs 3 different aspects. First, your career, also your impact, and lastly, your purpose. All of these 3 things have recently been implemented into the program from start to finish with the goal of essentially creating the next best you. And I'll explain how in terms of the program. So when we talk about the International MBA, what this will do is it'll combine your self-growth, your pathways as well, which we mean by sector pathways, and lastly, job prep. And this is with the help of our in-house talent and careers department. When we combine all of these things, what we'll kind of create is this career discovery knowledge areas, okay? And that's essentially with the goal of creating pathways for basically your career after the MBA. The International MBA, just to kind of go back to basics, it's a program that is handled full-time here in Madrid. It can be started either in September or in January. And you have 3 different options in terms of durations. The first one is the 11-month option. The second one is a 15-month option. And lastly, the 19-month option, which is essentially a dual degree with a second specialized program offered at IE. And in terms of the languages that you can complete the program, first, you can either complete it in January or in English or in bilingual. This is essentially completing the core period in Spanish and the rest of it in English. So 25 and 75 English. And when it comes to the class profile and who completes the International MBA program, first and foremost, it's open to any professional background. So that's something definitely I want to highlight. If you don't come from a business background, no worries. We actually prefer for you to come from a completely different background. And when it comes to years of experience, our students have about 6 years of experience on average, and the average age is around 29 years old. And when it comes to diversity, we're actually quite proud just because we're able to kind of boast and to highlight the fact that we have 96% international students that complete the International MBA program. In terms of gender ratio, we've achieved 42 versus 58% female versus male. Every intake we're striving for that gender parity with a number of different initiatives. Where do program alumni work? Well, the good thing is that they tend to work in all types of different fields. And, we have people that work, from technology to consulting to consumer goods to financial services. And there at the bottom, you're actually able to see some examples of some of the companies that our students end up working in after the program. So kind of breaking down your options in terms of those durations that I mentioned at the beginning. Here you have a full-blown chart and diagram in terms of what each duration encompasses. What I'll do instead is kind of just highlight some of those specifics in terms per program or per duration. So, we're able to see here the 11-month option, both options and both durations, or sorry, all three durations, they actually start with a pre-program, and this is finance, Excel business, economics, financial accounting, and quantitative methods. So again, quite basic pre-programs. In terms of term 1, you actually have your business foundations, and this is also shared with a 15-month option as well. Term 2, you have accelerated management courses, curriculum, and this is essentially a continuation of those term 1 courses, but a bit more accelerated and in-depth. And lastly, term 3 is either you complete a lab, an internship, electives, or either, and lastly, ending with the final exercise. We have in italics is some of those kind of initial elements that I started with. So, for example, your career, you actually have career development, job prep, and search from start to finish as well. And so what this is essentially you work hand in hand with careers to determine kind of your career path afterwards. To be quite honest, 11-month option tends to be for those who already have their career path very defined and basically either want that MBA on their CV or want to be promoted within their company. In addition to that, you also have impact skills, and essentially this is combining, digital skills, HR, and soft skills, and to basically make you a more well-rounded manager. In term 3, you're also able to see that you can also opt for a short exchange week, and this is, for example, visiting the SMU campus in Singapore for 1 whole week, and also taking part of the Advanced Management Challenge. In addition to this, the 15-month option is a bit more in-depth, and some aspects that kind of change are after term 2. So in term 2, you're actually taking, again, additional courses from the business foundations, but a bit more general and a bit more broad, to give you, again, some of those areas that you might be lacking. For example, in term 3, you actually have to complete a concentration and electives. And then you also have the option of either completing a global immersion month, which is essentially going abroad for 1 month. I think for our September intake, they will actually be going to Switzerland for 1 month. And again, completing some classes at St. Gallen's and doing some volunteer work, and also attending some seminars with some local companies there as well. And again, just essentially give you that international experience. Or you're also able to opt for an internship as well. And lastly, in term 4, you have to choose either a lab, electives, or even an international exchange, if that's something that you are eager to do, which is essentially completing 3 months abroad at one of our partner universities, which we have collaborations with over 50 different worldwide institutions. And lastly, ending with the final exercise or the final exam. Kind of some other aspects, well, actually, I would say that the additional elements that you see in the 11 months are also similar to the 15-month option. And contrary to the 11 months, the 15-month option is definitely for those individuals who aren't quite sure what they want to do after the program, or if they are quite sure that if they have been working in finance for the past 6 years, and maybe they want to move into marketing. Well, this is a great option because it gives you that option and that additional, let's say, coursework in marketing through the concentration, that you're able to really get that experience to make that, let's say, sector change. So again, this is more for those who want to explore and want to make a big change within their professional career. In terms of also for those individuals who are quite eager to complete some type of entrepreneurial project. The great thing is that, I would say entrepreneurship is quite embedded in our DNA. It was, I would say that IE is actually founded by a group of entrepreneurs here in Madrid. So again, we are able to provide a number of different options to our students. And this is through the help of either the Venture Lab, which is let's say an in-house incubator, and you have to apply to participate with this Venture Lab, and only the top 10 finalists actually are able to present their final project. Essentially, what the goal of this is for you to receive a mentorship, essentially, by a professor to help you really further develop that project. For those who might not have that dedication, and we also host venture days, on a local but also on a worldwide level, and also we also offer our students the Area 31. This is essentially a weekly venture network, where we have basically pitches by students, and where we invite investors and also sector experts and students as well to really give their feedback and to really kind of learn from others' mistakes. So why Madrid? To be quite honest, I think, let's see. Madrid, I would say it's definitely a great place to live, and it essentially is a melting pot of creativity and innovation. And within Spain's historic capital. In addition to that, you're able to really live in a very historic and a very important kind of connecting place for Latin America to Europe, and also just enjoy what Spain has to offer. And when it comes to kind of feedback, well, we know that, Spain, or Madrid, was definitely ranked, #1 in world amongst people who study abroad, and #3 best city in the world for expats. And also, it's actually the 3rd largest city. So I think that means that, within Madrid, we know that there are, a number of different companies in our backyard, which is quite important and quite crucial. For those of you who are interested in applying to the International MBA, I would say the admissions process is quite simple, and it's broken up into 3 different steps. The first one is completing your online application form. This is literally 100% all online. You're able to upload all of your documents there. And last, step 2 would be, fulfilling the entrance exam requirements. And we have the pleasure of welcoming either GMAT scores, GRE scores, or completing our own internal IE Global Admissions Test online. It's actually a self-proctored exam, so you can sign up and just complete the program and the exam literally whenever you want and whenever is best for you. So no need to register or to sign up for a specific date or time. And once you have your completed application, and if everything checks out, then you would actually have an interview with the admissions team, with one of the managers. And about a week after that, you have the final decision if you're admitted or not to the program. So again, very streamlined and very seamless. For those of you who definitely require some additional services, we have 2 great departments: financial aid and student services. Student services, what they do is they essentially make sure that all of our students move to Madrid and to Spain is as smooth as possible. So they actually help our students with the visa process, with finding an apartment. They even provide an intensive Spanish course a month before the program starts. So again, make sure that you're able to make it through a year of living in Madrid and in Spain. Financial aid, what they do is they actually provide over 20 different scholarships, and they're actually broken up into or grouped within 3 different categories. The first one being, merit-based. So this is for those who score definitely high within the GMAT or the GRE, and also who have a really great and stellar kind of professional career, or even just a GPA as well. And the second category, which is diversity-based, so definitely, from underrepresented communities and regions. And lastly, for financial needs, and so those who definitely require additional support. The great thing is that you apply to financial aid once you submit your application. No need to wait until you're admitted, and you can apply to up to 3 different scholarships. And scholarships can range from 5 to 50 to 40%. But to be quite honest, I would say that the average scholarship tends to be about 15%. But again, definitely a great option for those who would like to apply. The IE family, I like to kind of highlight this and just to really illustrate how worldwide we are. So, we have 72,000 alumni spread across 100 different countries. We actually have almost 30 different offices that are, again, located worldwide. We have 130 different student-run clubs on campus, and also these also include some of our local chapters as well, and again, worldwide. And we have more than 100 full-time professors and over 400 adjunct professors as well. And what they do is they are able to really provide and connect kind of that real-world experience into the educational atmosphere. Next, I'd like to move on to Antonio. I think he is here today, the special guest, and so he is right now a senior consultant, and he's actually also a co-founder. So I think he'll be able to really give us that entrepreneurial experience. And apart from that, he is obviously an MBA educated professional with a background in engineering. He has experience in operational performance and improvement and digital enablement for asset infrastructure and transportation operations across the UK, the Middle East, and Europe. He actually was living in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, before completing his MBA. So I actually want to hand over the mic to Antonio so he can give us, just a quick introduction and also just explain what his experience was like completing the MBA. Quick side note, unfortunately, when he completed the program, we didn't have the different options in terms of durations. But apart from that, I think he'll still be able to really give us some really great insights.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Alberto, for your presentation. And hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session today. So as Alberto was mentioning, I finished my MBA this year. I think it was, we had the graduation back in July. So as Alberto was mentioning, when I joined, we only had the 11-month option, which is the option that I took in as part of the September 2022 intake, and I was part of a class of 50 people, and I remember that we were around nearly 40 different nationalities in class, but the whole intake, we were around 5 different sections, 5 different classes, which at the end of the day, those people will be with you, not only studying, but also being part of that IE family that Alberto was mentioning. So it has been an incredible journey over the last 11 months in which I haven't been only able to move to business consulting based on my previous consulting background, but also, as Alberto was mentioning, as part of my introduction, to have the opportunity to create my own startup at IE, because one of the main reasons why I decided to come back from London, where I spent the last 9 years of my life, and come back to Spain, was the entrepreneurial advantage that it was offering and is offering as a top business school, but also in entrepreneurial teaching. Because when I started doing my own research about selecting the business school that I wanted to be part of, was very key for me to identify that I was, as I'm saying, a top business school for entrepreneurial teaching. And one of the main comparison with other business schools was that in other business schools, they normally have one class, one lesson as part of the whole MBA, in which they only have that entrepreneurship related lesson. But in this case, for me, it was very important to have not only one lesson for entrepreneurship, but also a month of entrepreneurial lab, in which we created a startup with 3 more co-founders. And then we had the chance to be selected as one of the top 10 startups from my intake to move to the venture lab, the IE incubator that Alberto was mentioning earlier. And also we were selected as one of the startups to deliver a pitch in front of the different investors and angel investors and VCs that came over to the campus at the end of the MBA to try to gather some funding. So for me, it has been one of the greatest experience I have ever had, having the chance to sorry, I don't know if sorry, someone is calling me. Sorry for that. So it has been a great experience when it comes to, as I said before, to getting to know people, but not only people from your class as classmates, but also have the opportunity to get those or build those real connections from companies from all over the world with a good international rates, depending on the different path that you want to take, whether it is consulting or entrepreneurship, finance, or even tech. And that is one of the also the key advantages that I have seen over this year when it comes to, you know, expanding after the MBA, the advantage of the MBA in terms of connections, but also opportunities that you come across after the MBA, regardless where you are, based on the IE community that you have created or the IE community that you are part of. And yeah, I am just experiencing what that feels like after the MBA, because as Alberto was mentioning, I joined a boutique consulting, business consulting here in Madrid. And yeah, I would be happy to answer any questions, specific questions about the journey, or even the academic structure that Alberto was describing earlier.
Yeah, so I think I see here that we have one question. I have a law degree. Do you think my background will be suitable for an MBA? Again, we actually don't have any requirements in terms of, you know, your educational background or even your professional background. Antonio, I'm sure you had some classmates who actually came from a law background.
Yeah, that, as I said before, that is one of the key benefits of being surrounded by people from different countries, different backgrounds. And when I say backgrounds, I refer to cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds, geographical background, social, any type of backgrounds. And that is one of the key figures that we have seen from Alberto's presentation when it comes to diversity in each of those sectors. So in my class, for example, we have one of my best friends in class came from the US Army, for example. Another one came from Germany. I remember that he was an anesthetics. So basically coming from the health sector, and obviously people from finance, engineering backgrounds, people from construction, from family business. So we had actually one of the most diverse backgrounds in class, from people from all over the world, but at the same time from people with different sort of experiences, different ages, and each person providing a very insightful support for the different work that you normally end up doing together, regardless of who you are, where you come from. So
it sounds really interesting that you had this opportunity to be surrounded by people with so different backgrounds and from all over the world. And can you tell us also how busy were you during the program? Did you have any time for social activities? One of our listeners is asking.
Yeah, definitely, because obviously an MBA is a demanding master, obviously, as everyone knows. But at the same time, is a type of master that allows you to build your connections with your classmates, with, as I said before, with companies coming over to the campus. Also, in my case, an entrepreneur funding or creating a startup, i.e., having the time to, for the first time, build those connections in the entrepreneurial sector as well. So it's very well designed to combine your experience as a student, which is going to be demanding, obviously, but also having the time to socialize with all those key contacts or key people who will be not only working with you or studying with you, but also supporting you in the future with your entrepreneurial idea, or even after the MBA with your return to the professional market. So my opinion, and this is a personal opinion, I think it was one of the greatest balances that I have ever had, because we were combining all those factors that I was mentioning in order to have the most and the greatest experience for this type of master at IE.
Thank you for this answer. It's really important. The networking part during the MBA is like extremely important. I would like to use the possibility to invite again all our listeners to ask their questions. For those of you who joined later, you can type them in the QA box. And we have another question, maybe to you, Alberto. What is the required GMAT score for being accepted in the AI MBA?
Of course. So we don't have, let's say, a required score per se, but I always like to give kind of the class average. So the class average for the GMAT is roughly around 650. Okay. And that applies as well to the GMAT, again, on average 650, when we convert it to the GMAT.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing is that, you know, again, if you score a bit lower, and you know, when the admissions department evaluates applications, what they do is they take a holistic approach to these applications. And so some people might perform a bit lower in you know, these types of standardized tests, but they might have a really great profile in terms of academic background or even professional background. So again, it's only a certain part or a small portion of what the admissions committee takes into account when evaluating applicants' application and profile.
Okay, thank you. I'm curious, Antonio, how did you decide to go for an MBA, and why did you choose IE actually?
Yeah, that is another great question, because in my case, as I said before, I was living in London since many years, and one of the main reasons why I decided to take this step in my professional career was because I come from an engineering background, and similar to most of the people that I had in class, at the end of the day, when you have your let's say well-defined background, or even with a master's that puts you in a very specific sector, it's normally a little bit difficult to try to do something different, or even to have a career change. And for me, an MBA was the key to have all that type of knowledge and all those academic experiences that I didn't have as an engineer. Because obviously, as an engineer, you are more focused on technical, mathematical / analytical aspects of studying a degree. And for me, an MBA was going to give me, as I said before, those aspects that I didn't have the exposure back in the day of 10 years ago, more related to the business world. And that is totally applicable to those people I was mentioning before, all the doctors, all the professionals coming from the US Army, or people with you can imagine different type of backgrounds with little knowledge on economics, data analytics, and entrepreneurial teaching, digitalization, and so on. So in this case, the MBA at a business school is a very complete academic journey in which they make sure that you have the greatest exposure to each of those different sectors that not everyone has from A to B, or just the master. So for me, to make the decision why IE now, I had an engineering background, but also an engineering / consulting background, and I knew that I wanted to continue in the consulting environment after the MBA. But at the same time, I wanted to make the most of the entrepreneurial journey that IE was offering and offers to students nowadays. As I said before, as one of the top business school entrepreneurial teaching, I was going to have the opportunity not only to study the different lessons and modules related to entrepreneurship, but also have the chance, and this is the key differentiator, one of the key differentiators at IE, to have the opportunity to create your own startup, and have the opportunity to continue building that startup in the IE incubator, which is basically what we ended up. And look at me now. I'm back in consulting, but I have with me that entrepreneurial teaching, which is one of the most valuable things that I have had, because at the end of the day was the entrepreneurship module that we had, and then the month of entrepreneurial lab, and then the 3 months of incubator. So at the end of the day, it was roughly 4 months of entrepreneurship, which has provided me with that very valuable knowledge and experience as well.
And which one was your favorite class, or which was the most difficult class for you? Something with business or entrepreneurship?
I wouldn't use the word difficult. I would say demanding, because at the end of the day, it's about doing presentations as part of the assessment method that professors carry out at IE, obviously through presentations, individual presentations, group presentations. Some of them do tests as well. So it's more the time that you need to manage in order to prepare those presentations. The way I teach you to speak in front of the public, to express yourself in a very effective way. And for me, the module that took probably most time when it came to preparing for me was obviously corporate finance, because as I said before, I didn't have a background in finance at all as an engineer. But I think this is the best examples for the people that we have on the call to demonstrate that regardless of your background or regardless of your degree back in the day when you were at uni, you had the opportunity to excel at any module, regardless of whether it is economics or entrepreneurship or digital transformation or wherever. So.
All right. Question for you, Alberto. Hello, everyone, and thank you for this very important event. I would like to know what are all the conditions for someone, for example, having a master in biology and more than 10 years of work experience in Salesforce in pharmaceutical industry. Thank you in advance.
Yeah, of course. Great question. I think this is, again, when I refer to kind of the average years of experience, I mentioned 6 years, but this also means that we have people with, honestly, the only requirement that we have for the International MBA are two things: that you have to submit an entrance exam score and that you have a minimum of 3 years work experience. And we have had people, in mid-30s, close to 40, and have had, roughly 10 years of experience. So I don't think that would be an issue. I think one of the biggest kind of things that we look for our students is that they have an eagerness to learn more, and that they want kind of to improve their managerial skills. And so that's why we give them, and that's why they require them to take, for example, accounting, marketing, leading people. Again, these types of courses that are fundamental for any future manager to be able to really communicate with any stakeholder of any company. So again, even if you have studied a master's in biology or have 10 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry, I think it's still, amazing. I've been at IE for 5 years, and I used to work in the admissions department. I have even processed an application of someone who studied theater, just so you get an idea that, we have engineers who apply, but we also have people who have studied theater.
All right. And the question that our listeners usually ask: do you offer any scholarships?
Yes, of course. So again, we have a great financial aid department, and they offer essentially, scholarships, and we offer almost 30 different scholarships. And again, they range from either diversity kind of based or financial needs based or merit based. And again, each scholarship, it looks for a specific profile or has different requirements. So we have, for example, one that's of women in tech. We have, again, regional specific scholarships that all of our students can apply to. The great thing is that, again, we have almost 30 different offices worldwide. And what these local offices do is they also handle some of them, alternative financing. And so this means that they also, come up with agreements, and they create agreements with local banks and such. So not only do you have access to financial aid, but you also have access to certain loans that, are a bit more regional specific, which I think is also quite helpful.
Thank you for your answer. And Antonio, I wanted to ask you also, what was your best memory for your MBA?
I would say there are two important moments during the MBA. The first one for me was, as I said before, and sorry for repeating myself with entrepreneurship aspects, but obviously when you have a different type of background and you don't come from an entrepreneurship background or even from entrepreneurial family, to have the chance to completely from scratch to build your own startup and being selected as one of the top startups to be part of the IE incubator for 3 months, and then have the chance to deliver a pitch in front of the different angel investors and VCs at the end of the MBA has been one of the most grateful and amazing moments that I have had during the MBA, obviously, because apart from spending the time for preparing the exams or the presentations, this is something that you create yourself with the tools that IE offers you to as I'm saying, start from scratch with no previous knowledge in entrepreneurship or even a startup building, and end up in front of the most important angel investors that you can have around, and VCs as well. And the other one is the connections that you build at a more personal level at your class, at your section, or even with other sections as part of your intake. Because as I said before, you are with those people for the next 11 months, and obviously shoulder to shoulder every single day. That creates not only the bonding for doing the presentations and continuing for the 11 months in that academic environment, but also to over the weekends to go together, to spend the weekend together, or even to enjoy the Madrid nights whenever that is. And obviously that creates more bonding at a more personal level, that at the end of the MBA is basically what stays with you, basically. So I would say those two moments.
And is there anything that you couldn't do and that you wish you have done? And can you give any advice to our prospective students? What do you think they should do during their MBA? And is there something that can help them to make the best out of their time during their MBA?
Yeah, for me, something that I couldn't do was to have days with 30 hours, because at the end of the day, with everything that you have to do as part of the MBA and everything that you would like to do as part of the MBA, as well as in people, as in connections or opportunities in general, you need a lot of time. But most importantly, and this is the recommendation that I would give any student, is to have really good organizational skills to be able to organize yourself. And that's something that everyone should do, and I'm sure that everyone does nowadays. And because it's essential to manage your time in the most effective way, to have time not only to study but also to socialize, and not only to socialize but also to study, and at the same time have time to rest. So normally I refer to those as the 3S: sleep, study, and socialize. And for me, the priority and the advice that I would give the students, the prospective students, would be to organize themselves and prioritize what they want to achieve out of this MBA.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have one more question. Thanks for your all great webinar. Are you also please offering PhD in business administration for you, Alberto?
Yeah, so we do offer a PhD program. It lasts 4 years and it's a full-time program. Okay, located here in Spain, and the intake is in October. Okay, unfortunately, a different department handles the PhD programs, but regardless, you can definitely check out our web to receive more information on that specific program.
Thank you. And Zakaria has one more question. What about immigration process for an international future IE MBA students? To be accurate, people coming from out of EU and needing visas and all the known documents. Will it be enough quick to not miss the session?
Yeah, so again, we have a student services department, and what they do is that they are able to provide and to help you with that visa application process. What they do is they send you all of the, let's say, required documents from our end, and also all of the information to apply for the student visa from wherever you're located. It is true that, you know, depending on certain regions and certain countries and cities, specific consulates do take longer than others, but again, that's something that unfortunately is out of our hands. But regardless, anybody that applies and that enrolls ultimately in the International MBA does receive a student visa and does receive additional support from our student services department, but also from our local offices, who also have a bit more of that understanding from more of a local viewpoint.
Thank you so much. We don't have more questions. Do you have something more to share? Closing words from you, Alberto?
Yeah, of course. Again, thank you for joining today's session. What we've recently done is, again, redesign a bit of the International MBA to really, let's say, give everybody as much of an opportunity to grow as a professional. And so that's why we've ultimately, you know, created different durations for the International MBA. Again, the 11-month option, which is for those who just want to continue with their already programmed career, and the 15-month option is for those who just want to do some additional exploring and who want to change countries or even change sectors and change functions. So what this does is it really allows for you to explore and to experiment without really experiencing it more on a professional level. So before you really have to make that final decision on a professional level. And apart from that, I think it's a great opportunity to really grow as an individual, as an entrepreneur, and also just as a manager as a whole.
Thank you. We have one more question, actually. Where are your offices located in the Middle East? Which country specific do you have?
We actually have one in Saudi, in Dubai. I think that those are the only two that we have in the Middle East.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for your questions and for your attendance. And thanks, Alberto and Antonio, for the information that you shared with us and presenting us the MBA at IE.
No, thank you.